Hello Internet. Have you ever wondered if the bricks input fields could become something like this? So from this to this, from this to this. If this sounds interesting, then join me on this quest as I explain how we transform the old bricks input into something looking like this. So you'd get all these codes from the link I share in the description of this video. You can just copy it. Then you go to your bricks settings. If yours is set to dark, kindly click and choose custom. Then you scroll down to the bottom, you press save. The page will reload. After it reloads, you can just have this builder mode custom where you can paste this CSS to this field. But before we dive into that, or before we do that, let me walk you through what each line of code does. So at the very bottom of this code, you'd see a declaration called advanced schema CSS variable icon fix. If you are not using advanced schema on your WordPress installation or your bricks installation, I'd advise you remove all this. What they do is that they add gap for advanced schema users. So if you are using advanced schema, you can leave it as it is, but if you are not, then you can remove it. For now, I'll just cut all that code. I will bring it back later when we reach the advanced schema fix. Cool. Now, this CSS declarations are to target the margin and padding, as well as the margin and padding for inner container div. So this is for the layout. The first one. I'm going to put in a variable that is really long. Then I'll intentionally add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that you can at least see what the new inputs are doing. So when you really have a really long input field, you realize that when this declaration is not there, bricks adds this beautiful designs there, but in my opinion, it's just taking up space. This line of code is to make the input field, so this is the default. Bricks adds these beautiful things and makes the input field really small. So this first line of code is to remove those fancy designs. Then the second line is to make the input field 100%. Now you can see the full test. Next, when this is disabled, when you put your mouse here, you see a label here. This line of code is to disable that label. So you know this is top right. Visually you can see this is top right, bottom left. So I don't need the label. If you need it, just disable this line of code so that you can get your label. But you must come to the custom variables and change your custom margin and padding inline width to 25. That way you can see the label, or 35. So if you want your label, disable this line of code. If you don't want the label, you can just uncomment it or leave it as it is. Then the label will not show. If the label is not showing, you are free to make it bigger. So in my case, I can make it 45 and it will work perfectly. So that is what this line is doing. This line is doing, and this line also. Next, I use this custom variable to set a height for all these input fields. Next, for the left and right, which is the inline, I am making it 45% now, but you can make it anywhere from 25 to 45 and it will look good. This is how 25% will look like. Though it fights against the purpose of this refactor, if you still want to make it small, you have the option to change it from here. I want mine wide And I'll even take it a step further to even make it big or larger or expand to the full width when it is focused. That way, when I put something long, really long inside, so when I have a variable that is extremely long, now when I focus it, I can see the full length. Let me remove some of this long variable to make it reasonable. So when I just press tab to focus into the right tab, it will expand and it will hide the left one. When I press tab, it will come to the bottom. When I press tab, it will come to the left. So when you click it, this will expand, this will do nothing, and this will expand. If you don't like the expansion of the left and right, please scroll down to the bottom, and in this area, when the margin left or right is focused, right now we are making it 100%. So if you don't like the 100%, just remove this block or this CSS declaration. Next, so this is for the margin and padding. You don't have to tamper with anything. Again, when you reach this area for the input fields for the right, I'm just aligning it to the right. So if you start typing, let's say I cancel it, I close it, and I start typing, this is for the left. Let's remove the right. So for the right, when you start typing, it is right aligned. Cool. The same applies to the left. It is left aligned. Bricks makes DS center. I am using this line of code to make it on the right, test align right, and on the left, test align left. The rest are to get the input fields to look this way. Next, I use this line of code to give this padding title and the inner container, the padding of the inner container div, some breathing room. You can change this to margin top of 4 rem and you see it will expand, or 5 rem. I like the 3 rem. Next, expand input fields. So this is to expand the input fields on focus. What input fields am I talking about? Default input fields do not expand like this. So if I change this to 20 to become smaller than Bricks' default, when I change it to 50, it will become wider. You can change it to 80, so you can change it to whatever your heart likes. And now you can have a wider input field. So as soon as you focus, so when I focus tab, you can have a wide area to see your custom variables. So I go through and I change all the input fields for sizing. From here, sizing, so that when you click it, all these would expand. For positioning, these codes apply. You need not tamper with it except you know what you are doing. For MIC, these input fields expand. For the inner container div, it's the same as the spacing, so that is taken care of for us from the above code, that is this margin and padding. Next, we tackle border width. So border pop-up, the width, we've also transformed it to look something like the margin. So top, right, left, bottom, left. And when you expand on the right, it takes the full width. When you expand on the left, it takes the full width. You can change the top value. The top value would represent the gap in between. So if I make it something like 49, you can see wider space between. I like mine in 39. You can reduce it if you like. Just like the margin, the left and width can be controlled with this. So if you want it to be small, you can make it 25%. I like mine 45. Again, if you don't want it to expand on focus, just scroll down to the bottom and remove these. So border width left and right, you can just remove these. The same applies to the border radius. And if you this piece of code bricks add some border radius indication here. So when I remove all this, you can see the border indications. These are to hide the border indications. Then when the border radius left and right is focused, so when you remove this, when you focus it, it will not do anything. This is for border radius, so it will not do anything. But when it's inside, when you focus, it will expand. The same can be said with the border width. You can come and remove the border width from here. When you focus, it won't do anything. But when the border width, these lines of code, when you focus, it becomes 100%. So the content column gap is also taken care of for you, and that is under layout display. So again, typography. So in typography, font size, when you scroll down to typography, font size, line height, letter spacing, all expand now. Cool. So if you don't use advanced thema, then you can just copy the clipboard, remove the lines that I just showed you. So let's go back here, select all. You don't use advanced thema, please scroll down to advanced thema variable icon fix, then just remove these and you are good to go. But if you're using advanced thema, then this next part is for advanced thema users. So I'm just going to enable my advanced thema, then you see the dashboard change. So for advanced thema users, we have this variable icon. When I paste the code, the advanced thema icon, this is to align the V in the center. Then for border, because of how bricks was laying it, the left was aligning to the right because of how advanced thema, because of how bricks laid the border width. So those two lines of codes are to bring the variable to the left. Then on expand, it takes the full width, and since it is left aligned, you can start typing from here. So left, on the right, the builder custom AT icon width. So if you want the variable icon, the space between the variable icon and the text to expand, you can just increase the value. Then you can see there's a wider space between the variable and the text. I like mine in 2.8 because I want more real estate. So that brings me to the end of this video. You can take this, can grab this code from the link in the description, copy it, remove the part you don't like or the part that doesn't apply to you, paste it into the builder mode custom, just press save. And now when you come to your builder, your typography should be transformed. So I'm using advanced thema, so this is what I get. Everything works as it should. If you find any problem with it, just leave comments in the comments section and I'll be glad to help you out in any way I can. Until then, happy building to everybody. Peace.